Okay.
Okay, call meeting to order.
I'll pull the agenda up here for you so you can see
Okay,
it.
sounds good, great.
There we are.
Okay,
Minutes.
yep, approval of the December minutes.
I move for approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you.
And next we have Sarah Smith, who's joined us from Webster Groves High School Senior Parade, the Parents Club.
Okay.
They have a special activity permit, and Fran will be sending that out. Sarah's on the screen. You can all see her. So Tim Delaney's here. So come on in, Tim. Yeah, so, we got 3 of us in the room.
What did I miss?
So, but just I want to just give everyone a highlight. When you see the form, the reason that this is in front of you, obviously, is I believe Sarah will explain what they're looking to do with the senior parade, but it may encounter the business district in terms of a route. So I'll let Sarah explain all that. Again, your review is, we have not processed the application as the city yet, so it's simply, we always like to bring things that may come into the business district to the business district. So Sarah will continue to work with us on any details following this, but to get your feedback and or consent on if a route goes through, what it means for you and for the business district. So with that, I'll turn it to Sarah, and Tim Delaney is joining us as well. So I'm going to rearrange cameras. We're talking. Muted, Sarah. Sarah, you're muted.
Yeah, the first lesson, right? You think we'd get used to that at this point. But again, thank you for adding me to the agenda so quickly. I am representing the Webster Groves High School Parents Club, and there's expressed by the students to have a parade to celebrate their graduation. This is something that we have done over the last couple of years in a kind of unorganized fashion since COVID started. And I think some of the students had heard honestly about what Kirkwood High School does. And I felt and feel that it would be really fun to be able to do something very similarly in our school district. So what we have looked at doing and what we've gotten feedback from both parents and from students is the hope that maybe to do a parade either on a Saturday or a Sunday in May. We originally had looked at May 21st as a possibility. That is a Saturday. And then there was a desire to really make this a community event where people would come out, line the streets, celebrate the seniors, and then maybe spend some time kind of congregating throughout the community. So I think we can all appreciate kind of the focal point that Old Webster Business District has. And so there's a desire to have that pass through the district on one of those days, to be mindful of how that might impact businesses, certainly, but also maybe take the opportunity to draw families in the community to the business district as well. So essentially what we're looking at is likely, again, this is very much in the planning stages, and we really are desiring the input from the Old Webster Business District to be respectful of that, and your input would be greatly appreciated, but have it probably likely start at Eden or at the high school and run down Lockwood, very brief, and then disperse at Rock Hill. And so that's essentially what we're looking at. So I'd open it up for questions or things that your folks might be concerned about.
What time of day are you thinking of?
We were thinking at like 10. I've spent some time talking with Dr. Havener at the Kirkwood High School to learn from their experience that they do it about that time, and they run it up Geyer from Merrimack to Kirkwood High School as their route, and so that's kind of what we're looking at. Again, very flexible with the time. We have a permit pending, but it really largely depends on if this is something that would be amenable to the district. How could we make this work?
So of course, Sunday, there's very little going on in Webster in the morning, Saturday is much busier.
Right.
So how long are you thinking, Sarah? Are you thinking 30 minutes? Or are you thinking an hour?
You know, I think it largely depends on how many people and how we limit the number of cars. So that I know, for example, at Kirkwood High School, it's they have 400 cars. I'm not interested in that. Part of that design is to have one student per car driven by a parent. I think we would look differently at this. I think we would allow for students to cohabitate in a car, so to speak, and limit the number of cars. I'd have to really defer to the police department on some input as far as the duration based on the number of cars. And they would only be driven by parents, not by students.
And I would just guess you would it'd be probably closing off Lockwood and like the light there at Lockwood and Elm. That would be just keeping cars going through.
Well, I think
As you
I
could
need,
for
we
a while,
need.
I guess. So I got 2 bits backed up.
Yeah, and I think that is where we need to kind of navigate this with the police department. What's reasonable? Can we, can we kind of use the lights to kind of minimize the impact of Elm? You know, having worked on the Run for Webster run for the last, 7 years, I have an appreciation about the impact of traffic management and kind of places to avoid. So that's certainly one thing that I have concerns about. But would like to try to figure out how we can make it work.
Would this just be cars, or do you anticipate perhaps the marching band and things like that?
Only cars, no trailers, no floats, nothing, just cars. And it would be by sign up only. And so we would really limit this and have deadlines and certainly limit the number of cars, but yeah, nothing extra. Mm-mm.
Well, it is early in the morning. I think, it's Saturday would be better for the kids. It would be worse for the businesses, and then, yeah, but it's early enough where and it's going to be short enough. I can't see it taking too terribly long.
I don't either, Ron. And there's some, I don't know, I'd love you guys' input if that would kind of benefit the district as far as having more people down there to maybe get breakfast or go out to lunch or, wander around. Again, not being a business owner and not having experience with events down in Old Webster, I can't really speak to that.
Sarah, I will agree with that. I believe that Saturday would be better because businesses are all open and open earlier. But then you're putting a crowd of people into Old Webster for breakfast, then possible shopping and all of that. I think it's better on a Saturday. And I think it's a good thing.
Okay. Any other thoughts, concerns?
Does anyone have any objections at all to this? There you go.
So, and just for everyone's information, Mr. Chair and members, we will, again, having not processed this, we will work on the traffic plan and such. And once we get that finalized, we'll make sure to share with the business district so you know what's going to be intended for that day. So.
All right.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. We're exceedingly excited for this for our community. So appreciate your support, and we'll be submitting all the paperwork, and let me know if you have questions.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, Sarah.
Thanks,
Appreciate
guys.
it. Bye-bye.
You bet. Bye-bye.
All right.
All right. Next thing we're going to do is updates on rooftop lighting.
Assuming I'll spin this back towards me. So there we go. So rooftop lighting and trees, I can handle this, and then second floor window candles, Fran can help me out with this as well. Rooftop lighting, we have the lights that Dan, the bulbs. Strive is supposed to have contact Mark Hinkle. I don't know if they have or not.
Okay.
To put up his, because he's the next building in the plan. So the bulbs are here. So I've got an email out to I cannot remember his last name. Anyways, have an email out to 23 North Court. Why can't I think of his name?
Dan Warner.
Thank you, Dan Warner. To get bulbs, to pick up bulbs, because I know he wanted to put in more bulbs, actual bulbs
In his place.
in his socket.
Okay,
So
got it.
he already got the strip, it's the bulbs. The rooftop, lighting and trees, the tree lights are in. Public Works, as you have seen, garland is still up. When they go to take the garland down, are going to be installing all the tree lights on the trees that were ordered. So that should be this week. That work order was supposed to be done last week, so I had to call yesterday about where that's at.
Okay.
So Public Works is going to put them in. That will save us all, strike money on putting lights in trees. So
Right.
we have a bucket truck, we can do that.
Right.
So that is supposed to be done this week. It is, what is it, today, Tuesday? So I would guess tomorrow or Thursday.
Okay,
So.
all right.
Second floor windows, all the candles that we have are now out. I don't have any more. I gave some to the folks on the historical building on the corner of Gore and Pacific, the law firm on the second floor.
Okay.
Did not have any, so I gave what I had left here at the city to them after we put out the email. Fran, were there any more? I did not have any more requests for candles from the.
Just Dan Warner, but I think he picked those up.
Correct, and he picked up the first batch, yes. So we don't have any more candles. So should we send out an email to tell folks to keep their candles? Do we want to do that coming out of this season now?
That's a good question. I wonder, I'll have to say that I was not diligent enough to drive around and see if candles were up. Did anyone happen to do that? Like from people who were had them left over from last year?
I did see them in some buildings.
Okay.
Yeah, I tried looking as well, and it was and if they did have them up, it was not something that was very visible unless you're paying attention.
Mhm. So we
Yeah,
wanna
it seemed
try to
like
get
a lot
those
of them
back?
weren't up this time.
Even the ones that were up, though, you could not really, it wasn't like, wow, if you're driving down the road, you could pay attention and see it. You had to look for them.
And when you're driving down the road, I hate to say that there's lots of other stuff going on. People crossing in front of you, car. I mean, you really shouldn't be looking up at windows. It's it's more, I guess, would be for pedestrians, really.
No, I mean, I would walk down to do the mail and just, look, and it's just, they're not really easy to see.
Right, they're not super bright lights.
Correct.
Yeah, they seem to be less bright this time too, this
Okay.
year.
I think it was a good idea, but I think unless we start all over and distribute them all uniformly, we just kind of let that thing go.
Any
We
other
have to
comments?
order up a bunch of new lights, be very organized with making sure everyone puts them out. And then again, collecting them back and then putting them back out. Otherwise, we're gonna have, we're gonna lose some.
It's a
And we're
ton
gonna
of
have to
work.
get new batteries.
Last year, not this year, but last year, I helped distribute them and nobody answers their door. You have to go back multiple times. It's a headache.
What I would suggest, if we're gonna do anything more on Christmas lighting, is I was looking at the garland and it looks good. But if I was gonna suggest something, we order more garland and we go all the way up the pole instead of just halfway up the pole. I did not get any comments about the garland on the pole. I have not heard anything. I haven't heard anything on the Webster Kirkwood Times. So I think it looks okay. I think we can do better. I don't know what those answers are, but I do think it looks like you're stretching that garland on a huge pole, and it looks like it's not enough garland on the pole.
Well, no comments is good.
That's true.
I find you only get negative comments usually. It's usually never positive comments.
Plus, I think the garland is reasonably inexpensive. But my thought is that instead of just going halfway up the pole, we go all the way up to the top and we order up some more garland for next year. Maybe we get more comments. Maybe it looks better. I don't know, but maybe we do something totally different.
I agree with Bill as far as putting more into the polls. I don't want to go too far into this, but I'd like to see it be a little bit more cohesive in our downtown during Christmas decorations. We have the blue signs that they look so good because they pop, but I just feel like when it came to what the parks did this year, which was really cool, I thought, and then you throw our blue signs with some garland and then candles in a window, it's a little hodgepodge, and it doesn't scream that we put much thought into it. I thought, I actually do like the candles. I don't think that we should stop doing that. I think we just need to be more streamlined on it and be more aware of how everybody else, how Parks is also decorating.
200. Okay, any other comments?
On the subject of Christmas decorations, did anybody else, the trees that got placed on the sidewalks, those kind of limb things, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the Christmas tree looking things that are made
Yeah.
out of
Branches.
branches.
Yeah, did anybody else have problems? I've seen several that were kind of wobbly and leaning over, and actually one near, I think in front of us was on the ground several times. They seemed kind of not very steady. Anybody else notice that, or?
I thought they
Yes,
looked
I had
great.
to pick one up in front of Straub's and between the Reliable Life building a few times. And
Yeah.
I think that one finally is like on its last leg, laying on its side right now.
Yeah, we had one of those too.
I thought they in general looked great though.
Yeah, they're cool. Yeah.
I wonder if it's from like people or adolescents coming by and like knocking them over. I mean,
What goes up the middle of those? Is that just a piece of rebar or something?
No, it's, all of those were built by the park staff just by picking up the downed trees. from
Right.
the Summer storm. So it's all wood. It's all literally, they just chopped the branch and
yeah, no,
screwed
he's
branches on.
talking about the center.
Yeah, the center.
Your piece.
I
That
don't
still
believe
was
they had
wood.
anything either, but I don't know.
They could have just nailed it all.
They may have nailed it all together. I don't know if they put something in the middle or not, so.
All right.
All right, any other comments? Okay, district kiosk.
Well, wait, on the, what do we decide on that? I mean, so like, should we come back with a budget on the candles for next meeting? So we know what the cost is, so we know what the cost would be on if we did purchase additional garlands. So could we get somebody to do that so we can make a decision? These things are taking a long time to be delivered, so we don't want to wait until July and find out we can't get them until January.
Right.
The garland, I can have Yvonne, if you want the same garland, just more of it, Yvonne or at Parks ordered that, so we can have her estimate a cost increase.
We'll do that, and we'll do that and have it for next week, next month.
My thought on the candles is we do it again next year if the cost is reasonable, which I know it is. And we just redistribute them all because the old ones are gonna be old and they're gonna have to be replaced anyhow. So maybe we do it on come to the city hall and pick them up and then they'll be distributed. I don't know the process on that, but if they do go up, they are nice, but it's just like we said, there can be hodgepodgey, but I'm willing to work on that project to get them out. And it's not that hard. So if we want to move forward on that, we just need to know pricing. And then if we're still talking about lights, we do need to authorize getting lights on the east side of Acme building replaced.
I thought that we had Strive looking into that. Is that, and they were, where are we at with that, Bill?
Well, I've sent a couple emails to everyone and I haven't heard anything back. So what I guess I'm trying to find out is that, where are we on that? And then can we authorize that? And do we have the strand to have Stripe put it up once weather is okay?
Okay.
We've got plenty of the strands, so it's a matter of installation, so.
So if by the next meeting, we could have a date in mind that they've scheduled us in March or April, weather permitting. The existing strand on the east side of Acme and going that direction is already there. It's just replacing that and plugging it into an existing outlet. So the labor should be reasonably not intense. And the west side of the outlet is working now. So I think between Ron and Joe and Stripe, they've figured that out so that we just now need to get the east side of Acme and going that direction into those buildings, just a new strand installed.
Yeah,
Joe, do you have a comment?
some Stripe needs to get up there and check. They can be put back on. Somebody has to get up there and reset the GFI. That is the issue. Every time it gets wet, the GFI trips, but we have narrowed down to the east portion of that strand is where the issue is.
Right, so I think we just need to replace that half of that strand.
Correct,
Yeah,
correct.
going up there every time it gets.
So the last time we had somebody out there, you guys are, the technician had a great idea and he put up an additional outlet. So one strand's going west and one strand's going east. The strand going west is working. The strand going east is not working. So that we just need to get authorization. If Eric, if you would please reach out to them and set up a date so that they would actually do that.
Is the GFI related to the plug-in or strand, or does this strand not have the little washer things that we had to go and reinstall?
I don't think it has the washer things on it, and I would, so I think the whole strand needs to be replaced.
Okay,
I believe is what needs to, and we don't know what the exact problem is,
Okay.
but we do know that it's on that half of the building.
got it. Okay.
So,
And the washers were put in after the strand was put up. And I think
Still
that
tripping,
is
okay.
the issue. But
Okay.
there was also some construction at the Weisenfels building that may be an issue too.
Okay.
When their roof was replaced.
Okay,
and yeah,
got
so-
it. East side of Acme building, got it.
and to be, and it may not need to be weather dependent quite so much because they don't have to put up new mounts, I don't think.
It should just be fitting in the mounts.
Right, exactly right.
Okay.
So it may not,
Good.
it may not have to wait.
Okay.
So
One other quick thing on bulbs. So how many are we giving Dan Warner? How many do we have to give him?
We ordered 5,000, so,
Oh,
so.
so there may be
He's
some
coming
other.
to get, he's coming to get a couple bags. That's what I've got for him. And then he's gonna give me back whatever he does not screw into his sockets. So
Okay,
we had 5,000 because literally I have strands of the new strands in boxes here so that we can just have them on hand between Old Webster and Old Orchard. So it's not just an Old Webster cost, it's split across. both.
and then my last thing on lighting, and so my suggestion was that we put the lights up whenever we decide to put the lights up in front of Lemke. And then we have two new locations at Canary and at Dan Warner's building, that we keep them up instead of taking them down about this time every year. We just leave them up until daylight savings time-ish, and then we take them down. So then we're getting more bang for the district. The lights are up longer. It's dark until daylight savings time, so the lights are coming on. That's my suggestion. You can do it or not do it, but I think that makes sense to me. Taking them up, taking them down is labor intensive, so we might as well just leave them up a little bit longer, maybe even just another month. And around daylight savings time is when next year we put them up again around Thanksgiving, whenever it works for Public Works, and we just leave them up until the end of February.
ones in front of O&O Pizza don't go off. We don't take them down, do we?
No,
We just leave them up all year, Bill.
I'm pretty sure they come down.
if they come down, I don't believe we take them down.
We're not O&O Pizza up there.
So maybe, I mean, we got people who
I'm
do
pretty-
things around here. We're still figuring out who they do it. So, but
I would have to check with them, but I'm pretty sure I see them put them up every year, but I'm not positive.
Okay,
But if we're gonna leave them up, then we're gonna leave them up, I guess, if that's okay with everyone.
Yeah, I think they should just be left up all year.
Yeah, and just
Okay.
set up with a daylight
we can
timer
do that. Yeah.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
they've got the
Well,
timer.
I think they're all
is the
dusk, I
dawn
think they're all
timer.
dusk to dawn lights.
Right.
Yes.
So, okay,
district kiosk.
So I think Stacy.
Yep, sorry, I'm coming on. So I got a updated quote from Weremeyer Creative, and I need to go get a few more quotes because the initial conversation I had, I guess, was a quote for the actual kiosk, but I received a $24,000 quote for design fee. So I just sent it over to the actual estimate to Fran. I don't know, Fran, if you're able to quickly share that or not.
No, I haven't received it yet.
I emailed it to you.
Yeah, I'm not, I'm,
Okay. Who can I email this? Well, I guess it doesn't matter. That's,
Yeah, it was $24,000. That's pretty high.
well, I was just so surprised that it went from, you know, the original. Okay, so the creative services is a $24,500 actual quote, and then the item itself, hold on. Is I believe the original 6,000, which is in a different quote, that it's not all in the same one. Either way, I thought I was a little shocked when I got the $24,000 design service quote. So I mean, it's nothing against them. I just wasn't prepared for that. So I'm going to have
Anyone
to
else was either.
do a little bit more research there.
I don't want to get ahead of all your conversations, and certainly we'll have budget coming up here, but you know, you have the money for that, should you want to do it.
I know.
You,
right.
you have the money for it, but I mean, if we're going to talk about that kind of money, it seems to me just more feasible to really talk about, are we going to do a much more digital sign and ask the council to exempt your sign that you have all, the city essentially is buying for itself
Right.
to be put in the old Webster district.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
so $24,000 for essentially a big bulletin board, right? To put things
Right.
on, you know, I mean, we might as well get a digital sign.
Right,
yeah, things on,
exactly.
so-
Okay.
So,
Okay, I would agree. So so we need to ask the council for an exemption if we want to have a digital sign.
that's correct.
Okay.
So I think that you know, the big thing on the, if you're gonna do a digital sign or any sign, is we gotta have a budget conversation, right?
Right.
Because at your next meeting, we need to finalize your budget request.
All right.
And so these bigger capital, I'll call them capital items, but larger purchases or ideas need to be included.
All
We
right.
can always amend it in case we forgot something, right? But once we begin to actualize the sign, then we have to come back and ask them to, the council to give you the exemption
Okay.
as the district to put it in. So it's really the city asking the city to give itself an exemption.
Right.
So
I just found in more detail. So it's 24,000 for all of it, including the signage, and then additional signs on top of that are $7,000 a piece. So that's the exact quote.
Okay, so it's $24,000 plus.
for one, and then 7 for more signs for each sign.
Yes. Yeah.
Each sign, but I guess.
If we have more than one.
Oh, yeah, okay, got it. Okay, okay.
So in reality, it's about $7,000 for the sign, and they're getting what,
Correct.
about 17 for design, feature, and creative. So
I mean, Tim, you guys do this. Does that seem about right for a quote for something like this?
No,
Okay.
it seems like a heck of a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, that amount of money, I think that a lot could be done on other things, maybe. I don't know. But definitely we could look at that digital sign as an option and try to get.
So we have, because Parks and Rec has them,
Mhm.
we can ask, it's Watchfire, the same digital sign you see down at Holy Redeemer, at Christ Lutheran, at the schools. So we could ask, you know, about what their quotes and their pricing
Okay.
looks like and such.
Okay.
Again, we just need a good ballpark, because if we need to amend the budget to increase or, you know, add some more later, we can do that.
Right, okay,
So,
okay.
and Old Orchard, I don't know if Old Orchard's interested, but there's been a couple business owners talking, there may be economy of scale if they want to do a purchase as well, you know,
Okay, right. yeah,
Bye.
right,
buying two, things like that.
Right,
So,
okay. Okay,
I believe
Cool.
Tammy at Maypop has been asking for something like that too. So we know that Marshall would like something like
Yeah.
that.
and I'm not poo-pooing that in any way. I know they want it, and it's a matter of how we, you know, the beauty of your district and Old Orchard and Crossroads is there is a special business district. When we look at that from the city side, where does that come from, and how do we, you know, in our budget problems at the city deal with funding that?
okay.
So,
All right. So I guess if you could
Yes,
Eric,
we'll
we
get
can find
that.
out some
Yeah.
information on pricing on that at
Yeah.
least for last meeting, next meeting, so.
When we looked at the coffee shop, when we looked at putting a kind of a sidewalk type marquee out to advertise hours and music and so on, we were told at that time, which was about a year or two ago, that Webster doesn't go for that kind of thing. Is that yes, no, changed?
So it is not changed. We have a very restrictive sign ordinance here in the city, and that is, that was adopted at some point through council and such. My conversations with council is they're not exactly sure why we're so restrictive, right? When I talk to them. Now, I'm sure there will be folks in this community that I hear from them that still complain about digital signs, like down in front of the school. But that said, the sign ordinance can be changed at any point. So Gary, they were absolutely right to tell you that, the sign ordinance doesn't allow that. But I don't want to say the beauty of it, but the beauty of it is the city can always change the ordinance, or exempt institutions or certain things from the ordinance. So sooner or later, that ordinance is going to come back up into question, right? I mean, the idea of a business owner, even here at City Hall, we send somebody out every day to change that signboard with letters, right? And I mean, that's, just a productivity sink.
Right.
When I could do that in 2 seconds from my computer and inside, so.
Okay.
All right.
Budget.
Budget discussion.
All right.
Fun.
Fun. I'm going to share a couple things and you're going to get all these files in email. I know I sent them to our good friend Fran, so she will have them, but this on your screen, and gentlemen in the office here, is a very beginning draft budget. So I just want to walk through what you have. This sort of brownish categories are your expenses and your current, those are your line items in the current budget. Below are in the purple are your revenue line items. So as we look, left to right, this is what we're looking at. Your FY21, which is your last year's budget, the one that ended on June of last year, these are your actual spends in those line items, and then your actual revenues in that yellow column. The current budget is in the green column, D, your 22 budget. Your E is your year-to-date amount, and then that's a percentage that you've used. So year-to-date as of last night. So I generated this last night. And then the proposed budget is in, and by proposed, this is me, Eric Peterson, putting some numbers in, thinking about things, but not including big conversations like we've just had, right? So proposed budget and then a difference between the years. So I'm going to walk through this so you understand what we're looking at. I'm going to start in revenue. So you have two basic major line items that are happening. You have real estate taxes, and you have budgeted this year about 47,000. Last year you took in 40, and I'll show you the trends on that in a second. And then business licenses. We have budgeted this year 30,000. Last year we took in 37,000. Okay, so I'm just going to pivot there quickly, and I want to show you trends that we have gotten on the trends that you see. Make sure I get the right one open. There we go. The trends you see on these line items. So this is your old Webster taxing district, the real estate taxes. So you can see, I'm going to zoom out here so people can see this a little better. The blue line are your adopted budgets. Amended budget is the same thing for you, but if we amend mid-year, that's what it means. And then the orange is your actual received on this revenue stream. So as you can see, we have every year except 2021 matched the budget when it came to property taxes. Okay. And we have received the first segment of payments this year in 2022 from the county on property taxes. So your budget is at 47,000 for 2022. 47,000 is the budget, and so you have received right now 19,600. So you can see that trend. Property taxes are pretty stable across the way, right? Business licenses do have some fluctuation for you. I'll scroll this one back out, and I think folks should have gotten your renewals for your business licenses. They went out this past week. If you didn't, let us know because we'll make sure you do. Again, blue are adopted budget, amended budget is purple, orange is your actuals. You can see business licenses have exceeded until 2021, which we saw all across the city with COVID really hitting, right? And then 2022, we have not had much revenue yet because obviously we just sent out the renewals. But the budget we did adopt for this year was much lower on your business licenses, right? So we pulled that down, probably expecting some changeover in businesses. So I'm anticipating that we are probably going to meet and likely exceed that number, given the number of businesses and how the system works, okay? So those are just trends for your revenue, so you can see that. I'm going to go back to the Excel document. And so revenue, on the revenue side, we last year, even though we had a budget of 47,000, took in 40. I've just plopped in 43,000 right now, and that is not a scientific estimate. So we will go through and redo those from the finance department to look at your assessed property values and the tax rates and give you a much more firm estimate next month. Licenses, I do expect that you are likely going to, I put it in at 37,000 now, probably meet where we were in 21. If we can do that during the COVID year, it's likely we're going to be able to do that amount in business licenses this year, okay? And even though we're still in a COVID year. This operating transfer outline where you see the negatives, that is the transfer from your fund to the general fund that pays for all the stuff that Public Works and Parks does, right? So not the supplies for Stride, but if they're going to hang the lights, that's why you don't pay for staff time directly. It's all just calculated into a transfer so that you don't have salaries showing up in your district budget. On the expense side, the only real changes that I put in here that you can directly see are on the operational equipment. We do have, this had 9,000 in it. We have gotten your 4 new trash cans in, which I need to figure out if you all know which trash cans you wanted replaced, or if that was Public Works that was, in the past, it's been they have decided. So, which I'm fine, we can deal with that. So we've got 4 new trash cans to put out. So they're in. So that's why I pulled it back down. But this would be the line item where we do put in things like your signage, you know, things that you're going to want to put in, those basic amenities that you're talking about. Professional services, that in all ways goes to Fran. And so I've calculated a potential increase into the budget in case we renegotiate contract, which we are up to do. Disposal services is the dumpster, land rental is parking lot, street lights. So this one I've kept right at the same amount, 1,400, anticipating will be there. And then a major advertising budget. You had 25,000 in, we're at 34% right now. I think 20,000 is probably about where we could be. We can raise that up. So, okay. So this is in your email, or will be when Fran sends it. But in reality, these other quotes and things, these are the line items we have. We can open up others, right? So if you're going to do area maintenance, which Old Orchard does, so they do like specific maintenance type things, we could put those kinds of lines in. So we'll build the budget for you once we know your inputs that you want to put.
With advertising, let's just say the Jazz Festival.
Mhm.
Is that in advertising? It's not, that's not, right?
It might have been dumped in. I don't know exactly why it would be in this code, but it might have been put in there. So because we don't. Sorry, go ahead,
It
Joe.
has been in the advertising line item. And I do want to request an increase again this year, even though we haven't used it the last 2 years, to increase the potential expenses for the Jazz Festival to 7,500 from the 5,000 that was in there in the previous years.
So we can easily do that. I mean, we can move this back and you can't see, well, maybe you can see my live screen since I'm sharing it here. So if we put it back, that's where you're at. And let's just make that 30,000 for the sake of argument. So you would have a $55,000 budget. Your revenues, once you take out the operating transfer at 37,000. So about 20,000 coming out of your fund balance. If you use your whole budget, you have $100,000 in your fund balance. So you've got plenty of savings to essentially create a deficit budget.
Okay.
The other thing I want to point out is this operating transfer is something that we are looking at to be very clear, and because I want to make sure that we are not overcharging the districts. And it's really important for Crossroads because they're so small and have such a small fund balance. We've got to make sure so that the auditors don't have any problem, because your funds have to be used in your district, right? And we don't want to bump into we have over subsidized the general fund, and now we're essentially got you guys paying for the general fund to do work in other places, right? So I'm going to analyze this transfer, which may bring it down. I would not expect it to go up, but may pull it down to make sure that we're in line in that regard.
Okay, Eric, my understanding was that operating transfer out was only for Parks and Recreation, nothing for Public Works.
So it all goes to Parks and Recreation, into the business district staff that work there. Yes. So Public Works, I use it as an example. That's a donation from the general fund to the district if we're going to put lights up and such like that. But again, back to Parks and Rec, right? Are you getting, you're getting pots, you're getting flowers, you're getting watering, you're getting signage and such. But we need to make sure that if we're taking 43,000, that you're getting that full value of the 43,000. Not because we at the city think you're not, but we need to make sure so auditors don't, ding us, and so that you all have a fair value.
One thing on the Parks and Rec that they were doing that I have not noticed recently is they used to clean our sidewalks with a blower, and I have not been seeing that for the last year or so. I mean, there was a pretty regular occurrence. Somebody would come down the sidewalks and blow them.
Okay.
It's just not happening. I just don't see people doing it.
I have to agree with Bill on that.
And that was a really nice thing because leaves accumulate. And so I don't know why they're not doing it anymore, but if we're paying for it, I would love to start seeing them do that again.
Sounds good. I'll look into it. Anything else on the budget? I'm sorry.
No, so you're gonna go ahead and send this out to everybody.
Yep. So
How long until you have that amended 2023? You said you're gonna look closer into what the revenue would actually be.
yeah, so that it shouldn't take long. I would anticipate a couple weeks. So what end of the first week of February.
Okay.
So we'll have, so I'll give you the whole timeline. By March 1, all the departments, including the business districts and finance, have to have all the budget inputs in, which includes our revenue estimates for everyone.
Right.
So we're going to be going through looking at your assessed values soon to make sure our property tax line items are correctly
Okay.
estimated.
And I'm sorry, I had to step away for just a second. So do we have something in here for additional trash cans and a park bench? Because I remember talking about that either last meeting or in the meeting before. And I'm a firm believer that we need to have one on the south side of Lockwood between Parkmore and the Algonquin. It's just too long of a stretch without a trash can. And I know we have one
just
or
got in 4 new trash cans that are waiting to be installed, and that was in our last year's budget.
perfect.
So we did talk about park benches at the last meeting, and I did go look, you're talking about in that flat space where you enter the ramp off of Lockwood, next to the gallery building there where the steps go down, that sort of plaza area.
Right,
Yeah.
for the kiosk.
Yes, there are 5, I think 5 benches total in that space. There's, and they're all the seats are cracked
Okay,
now.
that's right.
So if you would like us, again, that usually has come through Parks and Rec, we can go to quote, but I did hear, I think at the last meeting, a conversation about concrete benches, which I don't know if you want to do that. So that's the point of this conversation, and then,
Right.
sort of finalizing at least to ballpark the number by next meeting. So.
The benches we have now seem to hold up pretty well, I believe. Joe, you'd be able to tell me better, but I would say those benches that are in that plaza are at least 5 to 10 years old. So I think the ones we have now are sturdy, and I think they're reasonably priced.
I just hope we don't order new ones that don't match the current existing ones.
Yeah, I think we need to stay with the same kind of benches that we have throughout the district now. And I'm pretty sure they're pretty sturdy. I mean, I can't tell you the exact age of them, but I'm pretty sure they're at least 6 to 10 years old.
So we can get a quote for that if you want us to quote those.
And is there, yeah, let's get a quote for those. And there's no chance that, I mean, I would just assume it's the slats that you sit on that are made of some kind of composite material,
Right.
correct?
That's what's cracked. The frames looked fine.
So can you just replace those?
We can ask.
That would be
so-
great. I mean, I would have to say that it'd be, with shipping and everything else, it seems like those slats would be simple
I
to
agree.
replace with a
Yeah,
I
couple
agree.
carriage bolts, you know, versus.
Right.
shipping
Ron, good idea.
would be a ton of money. So, okay,
So the other, and certainly you know this because you went and looked, Ron, but we do need to discuss the steps going down at that
Mhm.
plaza,
right.
down to the lower level of the ramp. Those steps are, well, they've been secured. That is wholly a temporary
Right,
thing. We need to look at replacing those steps at some point.
right.
I would likely put that in the capital budget for the city in terms of where that would, in terms of that budget. But I don't know, in the past, obviously, that whole lot is a piece of the business district as well, so.
Right.
So I would not be surprised.
That parking garage was built by the city. And so I was on the council when we built it. So I would say that's a city, not a old Webster taxing district structure.
So that is the fundamental, so you're not wrong that it's not a old Webster taxing district structure. The problem is that we have a disagreement around City Hall about whether or not we own those stairs and whether or not.
Got it.
That bottom plaza, of course, is not ours, you know, and where those stairs go to and
Uh-huh.
such. So, so I'm just letting you all be aware of that conversation that needs to continue to happen and
Okay.
getting those steps replaced. So,
Okay, all right. Sounds good, all right. It's there.
So on budget, I don't have anything else, but this is again, your ideas, thoughts,
Right.
quotes that you want. So.
Right. Anything else? Anyone have any objection to Joe getting $7,500 in his request for Jazz Festival? He hasn't used it the last 2 years, so, and it's gonna be a 20th anniversary, keep our fingers crossed. So. No objection?
I motion to approve.
All right, Joe, so I think you can count on that from everyone here.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we're still gonna, it sounds like Joe said the street dance is still gonna try to go on as planned. Of course, we never know what's gonna happen, but.
I got 2 people in my office. I don't know what's happening.
So, okay.
Did anybody, I missed December's meeting, did anybody come to the texting about any of the Walktoberfest money that needed to be requested or the holiday open house?
So just real quick, the answer is no, but I did get a request emailed to me, which I wanted to bring up.
Mhm.
So Lisa Lorenz over from the Trade Association sent in the total bill for Oktoberfest, which was $3,500. And obviously you had taken 2 votes for 1,000 and 1,000 more as the business district. The request that she submitted was that a request that the business district cover the whole cost of $3,500.
Which we've already approved 2,500,
2,000.
2,000.
So
Okay.
It was an amazing event, and at the final hour, we were able to get a few more bands added. So I went around and I kind of just reached out to a few people and I said, how would you feel if we added these bands? Do you think that we could bring this to the taxing district? And everybody I spoke with said that they were on board with me spending the money.
Well, I'm gonna motion to approve. I mean,
Yeah.
we do need to be,
Yeah.
you know, just can't go spending willy-nilly, and I don't think you did.
No,
So I
Yeah,
think that we just need to,
absolutely.
we need to try to budget that stuff a little better, so we're more prepared instead of the
Yeah.
last second ditch.
Well, it's only the second year and it's been a
Right,
couple of crazy years.
Right, I
mean,
understand. Yeah, I like it. I love the Oktoberfest.
Yeah,
It's just, if Christmas open house is inside next year, it would be much better too, you know? So some people's was, ours was not, so.
Yeah, no, I think it's just a learning experience and good decisions were made.
Okay,
Thank you. We had 2 weeks to put it together. I felt like it was a pretty successful event for 2 weeks. Plan.
So,
We need to make a motion to approve this.
You don't, so as long, yeah, so I can cut the check, just as
Okay.
long as I know you're good with it all
Okay.
coming from, okay. So,
Okay,
did you ask about holiday open house, Stacy? I have not heard anything about that, so.
I did. I unfortunately missed the last trade meeting, so I don't know where we were as far as the budget went. And usually I have to come back to the trade and I mean, I do it every year. We end up giving the holiday open house money, but I don't remember having that vote before the holiday open house. Do you guys?
It's a line item in the budget for 5,000, I believe. And that just needs to be submitted for an invoice from Lisa up to 5,000. If there's anything above that, then we do need to take a vote on it.
Okay.
So are you guys talking about the advertising in relation to the holiday open house? Is that what you're talking
Yes.
about, Stacy? Yes.
Yes.
So that's already been paid and done. So I thought
Okay.
you were talking about expense costs, so event costs.
I just was curious if Lisa came with any extra money that we had maybe spent, but I don't think we overspent on the holiday open house. I have to go look, so.
She hadn't told me anything more on that one.
Okay,
5,000 that I know of.
okay. All right, so new business, proposition U, use tax.
Yes, so we have this thing on the ballot in April called Prop U, which is the local use tax. I think you're all familiar with this from a year ago, April, it was called Prop 1. The long and short of it, a use tax is now authorized by the legislature on any retail sales done online by Webster Groves residents from an out-of-state corporation. So if you're Zoe's Attic selling online to someone in Webster Groves, doesn't matter, right? But if I'm Eric Peterson, live in Webster Groves, and I decide I saw this great couch at the store and I think I like it, but I'm going to save the sales tax and go spend it on Wayfair unless voters in Webster Groves approve the use tax, there is no use tax. So we have a competitive disadvantage for online for retailers here in Webster Groves. The use tax is the exact same as the sales tax in terms of its rate. It never gets applied to retailers here selling in person and such. It's literally, if I'm at home in Webster Groves and buy online from an out-of-state corporation. We have talked to the chamber. I'm bringing this up so you're aware of it. We've talked with the chamber and such. We do have an educational campaign that's going to be kicking off soon, including yard signs and leaflets that can be left at registers and such. I'm bringing this up so you're aware, and that we would, as the city, certainly, while we cannot say vote yes or vote no, this is a benefit for the city and also for our local retailers that have to compete against online sellers. And so we are asking for the business community's help in spreading the message about the importance of Prop U. We have, and we'll make sure this gets out to you, a spot where you can sign up to get a window sign if you so support, to support Webster businesses and Prop U and such. So the city's coordinating all that and working with the chamber and other folks. And since you are business districts, wanted to make you aware that it's happening. I think the other big thing and why it's different from a year ago, now that the legislature has acted, a citizen doesn't have to file all that paperwork and come in and report on themselves about here's how much I spent online and I need to pay my use tax. Now the use tax would be collected by the out-of-state seller, remitted to the Department of Revenue at the state, and then sent to us as the local entity. So it's just like sales tax in that way. And of course, for every resident of the city, that's far better than having to file paperwork and come into and we all know how effective that would be, getting people to file that paperwork and come in and report that. So this is obviously a helpful atmosphere a helpful thing for the city, but also we believe levels that playing field for many of our businesses that are trying to compete against the Wayfairs, the Amazons, and even other smaller out-of-state sellers.
And there are tons of other states that have already enacted all of this. Missouri is way behind on this.
Missouri is the last state in the union.
Last state. We're the only one.
Yeah.
So everyone else pays sales tax except
Exactly.
for us.
Yeah.
And so for revenue for the city, everything that I sell it's 10% less if
Sure.
somebody buys it online.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. And you're
Right.
starting to spending a lot of money on bikes, it's a lot of money for
Exactly.
people, so it needs to happen.
So, and the state is going to implement this. So the state is going, if I buy a bike from, I'll say, not Walmart, but I pick somebody out of state, right? The state's gonna get their 4.225% because they've implemented it now.
Mhm.
This is about, does Webster Groves get its 1.5%? So that's what Prop U is about. So, and then I'm quite sure that there'll be a county, in fact, I know there's a county proposition to do the same, put the county same rate as the sales tax on it. So,
So if anybody starts crabbing to you about it, support it.
yeah, so. Okay,
Okay,
next.
ARP funding.
ARP funding. So I will be brief because we've had a good long meeting, but we do want to highlight, as I find my page, there we are, that the American Rescue Plan funding is been received by the city. So we have $4.6 million.
All right.
And so that is,
Approved.
what's that?
No.
You want some checks? You want me to cut some checks? All right. So 4.6 million has been received, which is great news. We are encouraging everyone to go to Balancing Act, which is right on our ARP page, Webster Groves /ARP. What Balancing Act is an opportunity for you and for our residents to submit input on how to spend this money. Okay. So we have received multiple ideas that we boiled down to about 30 that we estimated, at least as a starting position, to cost about $9 million. Okay. So this is an opportunity for you to do the same thing that elected officials have to do and balance out how do we spend that 4.6. So as you can see on top here of my screen, right now my balance exceeds the total amount available by 4.5 million. So I'm just going to quick go into like public infrastructure here. And we have the North Gore and Kirkham culvert down by where the Douglas Hill development was going to be. Should we use 1.8 million of this to replace it? If we say yes, it stays in. If we say no, and now you can see my red bar up on top has just changed to 2.7. And so I'm not, and I don't want to rehabilitate the Shady Creek area. So let's just say that. So I'm going to just knock $1 million off. You can see the bar sliding across the top, and I've saved some money. We have received good feedback from both council, our business districts, and at the business roundtable about some business ideas, right? Including, hey, look at that, a kiosk in the business districts, right? So if you see these, you as a resident can just click the I button to know what that means. You can leave a comment. Oops, let me go back there. And then you can also plus the money. So you can add more money to it, or you can take money away from it. And the point of this is you can't submit your ideas, your budget, until it's either balanced or in surplus.
Oh, nice.
So this is an opportunity that is our first time for the city of Webster Groves to use this. We encourage folks, we encourage you to encourage your fellow business owners to go in and do this. You do not have to be a resident. Give us your ideas because this will all help inform how the city will put $4.6 million to use.
And so once you're done, I can say Ron Clip submitted this.
Yep.
And
So I'll try to, when you hit submit, and it won't let me because we're at 6 million, but if we just get rid of some money here real quick, so. It's always a joy.
This is how you do the budget, huh?
Yeah, exactly. No technology.
So ultimately, yes, when you hit submit down here, it's going to ask you, if you choose, you can submit your name, residence, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, good.
The other piece, and I'll actually, since you were all looking at it, let me just share our analytics so you can see it. So can you all see the change screen there on your side? You should be able to, all right. So on the analytics, so you can see we've had far more than 39. This updates overnight. We're actually, every week. We're actually over 60 right now for just being open a week. You can see the mode and such of decreases. What I wanted to scroll down and show you is what we get is like how much net people have submitted, right? So, like right now, investing in businesses is netting out at 418. That's the average of what people are saying we should spend, right? Out of that 4.6. Scrolling down, I can see approximate residence location. I can see gender. I can see, returning visitor demographics we ask for. And then we got great comments as well. And then I can scroll in on all this. So it gives us quantitative data. And this, sorry, it's not showing up, but welcome to Google Chrome. This actually allows us, you can drop a pin on your address. So we can start to see if South Webster is saying we need more on businesses in South Webster, right? You can start to see a sort of a heat map of where those comments are coming from. So we encourage folks to pick this up and try the balancing act, it's at, again, webstergroves.org/ARP. We'll send out that link as well to everyone, but we really want folks to give us this input.
Right, yeah. And when are you looking to have all this information?
So it's open, and I would anticipate that we are likely going to run in correspondence with the budget, so probably mid-March we'll close this.
Okay.
So. And you've seen this in our Friday page and such, some of our newsletters, and we keep talking about it. This is balancing act. We'll also do this, as you all know, and probably have seen from in the story in the newspaper. We have about a $4 million structural deficit in the general fund this year, right? So I mean, the city has some real hard decisions to make about its service offerings and its level of staffing and all these things and revenue streams. We'll do balancing act just the same for the general budget. So residents can have input on the general budget.
Okay. Awesome. Any questions on that? Okay. All right, city update.
I don't see Councilmember Franklin on, and Mara has let me know that other than business license renewal, she doesn't have anything fun and fancy to report. So, if everyone has not heard, it's a coffee shop and a lawyer that's going next to Regions Bank. So that has been the question that everyone wants to know, what's going on next to Regions. So I don't know what businesses they are, but that's the plan.
Okay, and did they submitted their business licenses or anything?
Not that I know of.
Okay,
So,
okay, all right,
so, and I don't know which ones they are.
okay. I knew they were waiting to even start building the building until they had tenants, right?
Yes.
Okay, all
So.
right, okay. Okay,
Just so you know, it's in case you haven't heard, Gary at Canary Florist is retiring in May. And he told me that he is selling his business. He hopes to sell it.
okay,
Okay.
okay. So our next meeting is not the 8th though, right?
No, I don't think so. Just real quick, Officer Razul, is there anything on parking under city update that you wanted, or any questions about parking?
I have a little question about parking, I guess. So we took away 2-hour parking, I know in front of our business and stuff like that. And we're starting to see cars parked there all day or multiple hours. And so I guess I wanted to know a little bit if anybody else had noticed anything like that. And
It's absolutely terrible.
Okay.
Right, I mean,
they did take away 2-hour parking in front of your
no,
place too?
no.
You still have it?
we still have it,
Okay.
but business owners all the way around park there all day long.
What
I
is
mean-
wrn with business owners? Why,
I
how do
mean-
they not see it?
I mean, to the point of the lady that owns the rug shop next to us. Once a car leaves, she takes her yellow cone, goes and puts it out there so she can go get her car and park it right in front of the store.
I actually specifically told her not to do that. She does not own that spot.
Right.
So every time I see it, I move that cone.
Nice.
I told her respectfully a few times to please move it. She can't just stop from other people parking there. I said, that's fine if you want to, if you're delivering or, you're unloading some rugs or whatever.
Right.
But you can't just leave it there all day and park there, whenever you want.
Yes.
So I told her a few times, but then I just start moving the cone myself.
Okay.
And you said they moved the 2-hour parking from your business.
Well, in front of, so I own the Hub, which is right on Lockwood, right next to Acme Printing and such. We used to have 2-hour parking, but they took down the 2-hour parking sign. Like it says parking, and it used to say 2-hour parking above it, but they removed the signs.
There should be a sign there, just because the entire Lockwood up there is 2 hours.
Right, that's what
So
I
I
got.
can-
This was in front of our building. Do you know why they did that, Joe?
I could talk to Parks and see what's going on with that and talk to my supervisor.
Okay,
If the sign was moved for a reason or they just eliminated the ordinance in that
it
spot.
seemed like it was right when COVID hit, or something. I don't.
They took the sign down, I think, because of the curbside service and such, and did not want to enforce the 2-hour parking. You had the 20-minute parking or something, the temporary parking signs up. And then 2-hour parking signs need to be back up. I think the actual city ordinance still states 2-hour parking.
Okay, all right. Well, yeah, if those could go back, I mean, if it's a, at least if it's posted, then you can say something to somebody, so.
Yeah,
So-
because if the sign is not there, if they do get a ticket, they will say, well, there's no sign there, so
Right,
they want that ticket to be voided.
So, and we did certainly, and Officer Razul is our main point on this, but we did relax a lot of the parking
Absolutely.
issues, right, with curbside and such. And it's been a real question floating around leadership on when do we start going back, to enforcing some of those things, right?
Right.
So, more and more, I think we're seeing the soon end to a much stronger enforcement and reinstatement of where
Right.
we're at. So,
and I think that, yeah, I mean, I don't know, Officer Ruzul, if you do warnings, but I have a feeling if you're patrolling that area, which car, like the cone lady,
Yes.
her and you know her car. And
I could tell
once
you-
you learn the car, the habitual people that are
Oh, yeah,
constantly a
absolutely,
problem, so.
absolutely.
Yeah, I could tell you from the experience in the last 2.5 years that I've been doing this, it's unfortunately, it's mostly employees and business owners that park.
Exactly,
And they-
right,
and they
yeah,
do-
so,
And I do issue them tickets, but again, it's $10. They're not necessarily concerned about $10. They get to park there all day, so.
right, yeah.
And I have directed, spoken to them directly, because I know who they are, and, nicely told them like, hey, we have these employee lots, you could park there all day without any issues. Do everybody a favor and just start parking there. But again, I can only, ask them so much.
Right, well, thank you for doing that
Yeah.
at least, that's helpful, at least.
Yeah.
make
And I'll
sure-
check on the sign for those, check with my traffic sergeant, see if he has any suggestions.
Okay. All right. Okay, so our next meeting is gonna be on the 28th,
22nd.
22nd?
Is that, let me look here and make sure. This was a copied agenda from from Old Orchard. So we are looking at, that's March. February
22nd.
22nd would be the fourth Tuesday.
Okay. The next meeting's on 22nd, we're going to have to vote on budget, and it'll be budget discussion, so we gotta really kind of just nail that down. Usually a little bit longer meeting, so we try to keep a lot of the other updates to a very minimum if we can, so the meeting doesn't run too long.
And I will send the budget with the inputs I've received from folks and quotes out before that. So you'll
Okay.
have a
Great.
document that you can have before.
Great, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
if we could get that like a week
Yeah,
before, so
sure.
everybody can
Yeah.
digest it, and then they'll bring
Yeah.
out their ideas when they come to the meeting, it'd be great.
Absolutely.
Okay,
And wait, am I tabling the kiosk? I'm not getting any more quotes for a hot second while we figure this out, right?
Well, I know I'm getting a digital sign quote. It's really a question, do you still want a manual kiosk quote?
let's get the digital sign quote first, Stacy, and then also let's all look at that, what was it? The balancing act thing. And, maybe our district could benefit something from that and get some money from that. I mean, $100,000 in it just for that, and Eric's already getting quotes, and he said Old Orchard may want one, we may want one. That, that may be it right there. So let's take a
Mhm.
take a step back and let's just wait for him to get that sign quote for next meeting, and then we'll have a little better idea.
But this kiosk has been so urgent for the last 5 years.
Oh, yeah. Fran, do you mind emailing that? I emailed you the estimate. Do you mind emailing that out so everybody can see what I'm talking about too?
Sure.
Just, thank you.
And Fran, do you have a list? I mean, you have a list of all businesses you can send a big email out to, right?
In the district, yes.
Right, yeah. Can you just remind business owners and employees that they're not allowed to park on the street? And maybe that the 2-hour, we've been lax for the last 2 years because of COVID, but now that is going to start to be more enforced.
Oh, you
Okay.
can better to come from Eric and Webster Groves with the Webster Groves like emblem on it.
Put it from Dale Curtis. And put it with 2 guns like.
Sheriff Curtis. So we definitely can do that. We do have businesses. So, I mean, we'll work with Fran and we'll get that taken care
Okay, great. Make it more intimidating.
of.
Well, Chief Curtis is very nice.
Yeah. Officer Razul may think he's intimidating, but Dale's a big teddy bear to me.
He's
So.
pretty nice, yeah, so then it's great. So, okay. All right, next meeting, we'll see you guys at the end of February. Please look for the emails on the budgets and come prepared for the next meeting. And is it gonna probably be a Zoom meeting?
I would guess Zoom.
Okay, got it. Yeah,
I would
I'll pay
plan for
attention to
Zoom.
that myself.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to have a discussion when we're done here to how we messed this up.
So, okay,
All right.
all right, thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
All right.